Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 62 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every week to help you build a better marketing strategy. I say every week. We've had August off, and it's been quite nice, but it's nice to be back. We've got a good lineup that Claire's got going for us, and we'll talk to you a little bit about what's coming up after this particular session. On this one, what we're going to be looking at is kind of the second phase of an SEO audit we had with Chris Richards. When was it? Back in March, I think it was. We had this
quite some time ago now.
It was a little while ago, and actually we pushed it out a little bit because we haven't managed to do everything. I think we've managed to do a lot of stuff now, but we had a mini discussion before, and there's still a lot of work to do, which we'll be going through with you. So the goal essentially is that we want to increase more visits to the club page. That is the primary goal. The secondary goal really is then subscriptions, but the primary goal from an SEO perspective is getting more visits to the club page, because from there we can then drive more conversions. Claire is also joining us. Hello, Claire. And she'll just be taking notes so we can put this all onto our website for everyone to see later and see how we're getting on. In fact, just a note on the website before we jump in, all of our content now has moved over to our rather inventive website. I think we've pretty much got everything on there, and it's going to be the most live and updated resource for any content going forward. We've just started, just before holidays, we started migrating everyone over. So hopefully that's going well. I'm going to start chasing people up because we'll be shutting the Basecamp area down. I'm not sure when. Certainly at the end of the year, it will be shut down, if not before. And all of the content will be online. And we've been doing lots of exciting things with the member content for public access as well, which you'll see in a minute. So, hello, Chris. Welcome back.
Hiya. Thank you.
Are you well?
Yeah, good. Thank you. So
good. Yeah, pretty good. Glad to. While we had a break from the club, I also had a holiday, and that was quite relaxing as well. I needed it because I've been working pretty hard. It was nice just to think of nothing.
Yes. Yeah. If that's ever possible. I've never fully switch off. So
no, I don't. Although I've been reading the Maze Runner series, which my my youngest Max got me into, and that has been taking my mind off things. So it's been quite nice, actually.
Good.
So where should we start? Shall we go through the notes that Claire wrote up for us last time in episode 44, and we'll just run through those and tell you how well or not that we've got on with each one of those.
Sure. Yeah, sounds like a good place to start.
So let me bring up a screen share and we can go through it. So here we are with actually a slightly older format of club session, which you'll get to see the new ones later on. Let's scroll down to the notes. So there's lots of notes here. I'm just going to pick through them rather than read everything out. But starting at the top, we've got blog content. So this was an area that you were talking about in terms of, well, if we want to get high up in the searches, we need to start helping people coming at it from a point of view of a pain point, something people might search in Google.
Answering a question.
Exactly. Now, I must say, we haven't added a huge amount of additional content in that area, apart from the club sessions, which I'll come on to later. But we're not adding a huge amount of separate blog content on that. It's just been that we've been working on other things. We haven't had the time for that. However, what we have done is adapted some of the current content that's already up there to try and repurpose that so it's more focused in this area. Okay. One of them is, let me see if I can find it. On the marketing articles page, we've got our marketing strategy. In fact, these three different ones here. So we've got a nice video about getting more website traffic, one about getting more referrals, and one about getting just a simple strategy together. You know, what should I do if I don't know what I'm doing in marketing? What we've done with each of those, Chris, is we've just tried to focus on a particular search phrase that someone might be looking for. So in this case, and as we discussed before, it's quite tricky because to get people through to the club page, because people aren't really searching for a club, they're searching for a problem. No. So, and with this one, people aren't looking for a marketing strategy, but they are looking to get better at marketing. And this was one of the top phrases we found. May not be an ideal phrase, but that's one of the top ones we found that people were searching for. So we've retitled it in the heading and the title. And we've also run it through the SEO Surfer application, which I believe actually you recommended, Chris. It's been a great tool, really great recommendation. And if it's SEO is important, obviously you should speak to Chris and we can help you with that. But SEO Surfer is a great tool at helping you understand what you can do to improve on your page in relation to your competitors. I'm not going to bring it up now and go through that, but Claire and I did run an audit report. We put in, I think it was the keyword, how to get better at marketing. I actually don't remember now. I think it would have been. And what SEO Surface told us to do is add a load of keywords into the page. So that's what we've done. We've basically gone through this and added in where we can, where it makes sense. We maybe changed words to make them fit, or added in maybe another paragraph if we need to add that content in. It's difficult to see this because it's not like it's word track changes where we've highlighted it all, but we have gone through and done a lot of that. I do know there is more we can do, but we just ran out of time. That's one thing. We've managed to boost the content a little and tried to make it more relevant to similar content that other websites have been publishing, but hopefully it's still unique. So that was, I think, one of your recommendations was to get in more keywords into the page that are relevant about that.
Yeah, just make it more relevant to what people are searching for.
Yeah. I don't remember if we had this video in at the time we spoke. We've made so many changes. I don't know exactly what we changed, but I'm not sure if that video was in the page already.
Don't think so. So
this is a video which we've now made free and open, so anyone can view it. It's on YouTube and it's got a backlink to this particular page. And this video is an overview of this page. I don't know when I did it. It's episode 2023, so it's last year, a while ago now. But it's actually me running through this page talking about it. So it's highly relevant as well. So that's useful. Okay. The other thing you said to do is get some call to actions on this page, because ultimately I want people to find this useful, but I want them to click through and join the club. So we put these call to actions in place. And one of the things you said is try and make them relevant to the section that you've just read. So I think with this one, we were talking more generally about marketing in the planning section. So we're talking about now to be a marketing superstar, join the club. And there's one about analytics here. So to understand your web stats, join my club. And actually, even this was a hard exercise, wasn't it, Claire? Going through and trying to make these call to actions similar, but relevant to the content and different. So they're a bit more interesting. The colors are different, so they grab attention. They sort of fill the whole width of the page.
Yes, because one of your points was to be loud and proud and not too polite with our call to actions.
Yeah, definitely. You need to make sure people don't scroll past them, miss them, whatever. So you want to get them to click on it.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we've done. Definitely all the way through. Something else related to that, and if I click on another blog article, we'll be able to see that, is related to being loud and proud. Let's just find any blog article here. I think that one will do. If we look down the bottom, if you aren't logged in as a club member, everyone gets this banner at the bottom.
Good. Yeah,
regardless.
Good. Yeah.
That's nice and bright, and it's the club colors as well. So that works out well.
The only thing I would potentially say is maybe looking at having something above the fold. So before something that people don't have to scroll too far to see it. But we can come back to that later.
Quite right. Yeah, because if we go back to maybe a typical desktop view, there's no call to action on there. There's you know, we've got the title, we've got a bit of an image. It looks interesting. There's lots going on, but there's no, if people are returning to this page, there's no instant call to action on there. Or maybe they go, yeah, this is good. I want to join the club. And actually, it's only until you get after
too far down,
section.
really, Ben. To be honest,
yeah,
it's too far down. Really, you want something a bit earlier. I would have something after. If you scroll down slowly, I would have something potentially either not after the jump to, after the video, maybe.
Yeah, it would fit well in the
first section. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe add one there, just because otherwise you've got to go a long way before you're going to get someone.
You're quite right. And actually, it's possible we could put a link in text here as well to the club page, not a big full banner, but just a link in there.
Yep.
That's a good point. What else did we do to this page? And see what else we've got. Adding more keywords. One of the things you're talking about is optimizing images.
Did you do internal linking, Ben? Did you link from other pages on your site to this page?
So this is an area where we need to do some more work. We did do a little bit. I think we installed Link Whisperer, which is another plugin you recommended. I've used it on a few other clients, but we hadn't used it on ourselves. So I put that on, and that helps identify potential places where you can, other pages you can link from.
Yeah.
And it also recommends what text you can link on as well, which is very useful. Because often the problem with a lot of linking is it's a time-consuming task. And if something can just give you an idea of, oh yes, link on this text to this page, you might go with that recommendation, or you might not. But it's easier to have a decision made for you, which you can then edit, rather than having to make, decide on all these pages you need to link. We did go through SEO Surfer though. It had something similar in the audit report and said that we could link from these other pages, which we did do.
Yeah. The only other thing I was thinking on looking at the pages, are you linking out to any authoritative sources? Is there any links going to anything like the
let me try and think. There would be. I'm pretty sure that in some of these references here, we're linking out to Google help pages. So that's signing up for a Google account. This is going to a Monster Insights plugin on WordPress site.
I'm thinking more like the maybe like the Chartered Institute of Marketing or anything like that, something that is directly relevant to the page, but also is seen as an absolute authority.
That's a good point. Did we have the only thing I've got that's similar to that is something by Tony Robbins here, just a quote. But that could be a good point. If we could pick up something from their website, a quote, and bring it onto here about the value of having a marketing strategy, and that would allow us to link out. That's a good point. I
definitely would do that, because you want to be linking out to authoritative sources. So if you can link out to something like the CIM, then or find a way to do that, that's something that I would recommend you do.
That's a very good point, because often when you're talking about link building, you're saying it's, you're talking about getting links into a particular page, and there's definitely some value in linking out, and it's useful for other people as well. I mean, the web is about sharing. Yeah.
Well, it's also if you can cite your sources, then that's a good habit to get into.
Does it encourage? So I was just going to say, does that encourage trust, or does that show responsibility and trust in the content, that if you have good content, you're likely to cite sources of where you got that data from?
If you think of the, I think when you look at really good high quality content, the way I would sort of explain it is, if you look at an authoritative document, let's say it was a journal or something like that. They would be citing all over the place, footnotes, all sorts will be, be citing everything there, any stat or any information, they're going to be citing the source. And if you take it back to what I believe Google's probably looking for from a trust perspective, or that your content is worthy of being read and ranked highly, one thing I would say is that it's worth linking out to, sources which are more authoritative than you. I wouldn't recommend linking out to competitors, because that's just, you're giving them an edge. But yeah, if you're linking out to, something about Google Search Console I just saw on there, or if you're looking at, there might even be something on the, what's it called? Chamber of Commerce about business strategies, marketing strategies, sorry. Those kind of, if you think in those kind of terms, think of authorities that are going to be more authoritative than you, or more authoritative than your website. And if you can cite them in relevant, and it has to be relevant, of course, locations on your page, then yes, it is certainly going to help.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can definitely do that. I mean, there's certainly more there. I think one area we're missing here is to add more statistics.
Yeah.
And facts that back why we're suggesting things.
And also, if you've got something like that set up a Google business profile, that how to add or claim your business listing, is that an article on your site, and is that article
No, that's sport article on
Yeah,
Google. I don't think it's a great one either.
See,
It's the best one they've got.
I would put in your content queue that you're going to create a piece of content which basically is a how-to to set up a Google My Business listing.
Absolutely.
And then you link to that, and then the Google My Business listing article that you write then links out to that link you've used there. So
yeah,
and then the Google My Business, how to set up a Google My Business listing links back to this page to build that sort of topic cluster.
Yeah, I can see, Claire, there might be some articles for you to write that are very fact-based, very sort of step-by-step, maybe even little videos. That could work quite well.
Yeah, that would
Pop
be
a
great.
video on there. Sorry, Claire. No, it's a good idea. Okay, let's see what else is on there. I think that's it. Let me have a look at my notes. We did add more backlinks to the club. We've spoken about that. We definitely could write more articles. If we go back to what you originally said in this section here about creating more content around pain points, that is an area that we need to do more of. But as you said, just looking through that strategy blog post, I think there's every single article where we're linking out to someone else. That is an opportunity for us to write that article. Correct. And you mentioned on previously the words to be maybe at least 1,000, 1,500. Obviously, that depends on the competition, who else is writing content. Do you think that goes for something like how to
well, you've mentioned you're using Surfer. So,
yeah,
you know, if you're not using a competitive marketing tool like Surfer, then, you know, as a rule of thumb, I would say, yeah, try and shoot for, you know, in excess of 1,000 words, 1,500 words, something like that. The great thing about Surfer is that when you put the keyword you're trying to rank for in, it will give you a range of how many words. Now, that's based upon the people who are on page 1 already. So, you know, you should look to page 1 to see if you're on page 1, you're doing something right, or the sites on page 1 are doing something right. You know, from a content perspective, technical and links. So I would suggest that you put the term into Surfer, you know, how to set up a Google My Business profile, see what the word count comes back at, and basically go somewhere in the middle. Don't try and go to the high end or the low end, just try and go in the middle. That might mean that the page is 4,000 words. Some of these marketing how-tos are pretty chunky pieces of content.
Yeah.
But it's a worthwhile exercise.
Just relatedly, perhaps,
Sure.
You mentioned about getting transcriptions for our club sessions.
Yeah.
We did look into that. There's a bit of software that Claire used. I think it was a visual audio editing bit of software, but it would give you a transcription. And we have backed off on that because of the time we need to implement that. It would be quite time consuming every single week to add that as well. But it might be that could be quite helpful for writing content. If we were to make a video first on something, get a transcription, and then not only have you got the video, but you can then edit the transcription down into bullet points, and that could keep the word count quite high because it'll be a bit more informal.
You've also got to remember that so again, going back to the trusty Surfer tool, you also got to remember that the content has a structure. So, you know, you might find that certain pieces of content or certain keywords have an expected format of content. So it might be, you know, how to do something, or certain how-to keywords anyway. You may be expected to have an ordered list of numbers or a bullet pointed list. Something a little bit more complex or involved, like, you know, how to set up a Google My Business profile. You will potentially find that is more chunks of text, imagery, ordered, unordered lists. So I guess I'd be careful to make sure that you're not just providing a bullet pointed list with a couple of paragraphs, and look to page 1 to give you a steer on the suggested structure of the page. You know, different queries that people put in there are different expected structures or return, you know, there are different levels or different layouts of content that are expected based on what query you put in. So just be careful not to don't just try and fill the word count, is what I'm saying. Do it in a way that is structured based upon what is successful for other people.
Yes, I mean, I'm lazy at the end of the day. I'm always looking for not a quick win. I don't want a quick win, but I want to look for an effective way to do something. Because if we're looking at producing lots of articles, I mean, you can obviously get a copywriter on it. But I'm looking for a way, well, what are we already doing so that we can actually write these articles? And what we're already doing is this. We're already talking, we're already
Sure.
helping people. And I'm always looking for the easy way, the lazy way of doing that and repurposing the content. But as you say, in some cases, it's just going to come down to, well, this is the expected structure. We have to write it like this.
And not only that, you have to remember that marketing as a topic is a very competitive topic.
Yeah.
So, and also Google wants to provide, certainly from the page one perspective, it wants to provide the best of the best results for a given search term. And if you don't put sufficient effort into a page, particularly in a competitive keyword or environment, the chances of you getting to page one or getting sufficient or significant traffic for that query is very slim. That's why I said it may be that something like how to set up a Google My Business profile is a big piece of content, like 4,000 words, let's say, just to give an example. But if you put something together that is much shorter, you may find that you never break page two.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being aware of who you're trying to compete with for the content. And with that being said, it's worthwhile trying to use, as I think I showed in the previous one, or a previous talk we've had about using the Google Search Console to pull out the questions people are asking and try and answer as many of those questions as possible, because then you're going to pick up relevant traffic for those people looking for answers, versus trying to rank for a really competitive term like how to set up a Google My Business profile. I mean, there's probably the search volume for that is going to be pretty big.
Yeah.
Lots of business owners are going to be looking how to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm saying pick your battles as well.
Yes, it's trying to find something that we're good at. We know we can do well. We can put lots of detail into it, because we've done a whole IMC session on Google My Business profile. So we've got the content, we've got all the stuff there. It's just in a different format. It's in a video, sure. And it's locked away, to be honest, as well.
But if you took all the additional content you have around setting up a Google My Business profile, wrote the article in line with what Google's expecting to see in terms of what's on page one, and then added all of the other resources to that page, all of a sudden your page becomes superior to others, and therefore your chances of ranking increase. Obviously, you've got to take into consideration technical and backlinks as well, but from just a purely on-page content perspective, if you're providing a really well-written article in the format that Google's expecting to see it in the rough word count that it expects to see for that query, plus you're adding additional resources like video or audio or imagery to that page, all of a sudden that page is superior to maybe those on page one, or certainly gives you a chance of being on page one.
So that leads me on to, let's say we run through the strategy, we run through other areas where we're linking out to other people, and we generate this very good list of resources. We're already questions that are already being answered by someone else, where we can do that better, and we put them into a spreadsheet. What's a good way of prioritizing that in terms of making sure that they are well, we're spending our time on the stuff that's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak?
So what I would do is I would look at it based on effectively what would be classed as a topic cluster. So in the center of that cluster is your how to become better at marketing, or marketing strategy. Business marketing strategy is probably the keyword phrase that I would think of. And then I would look at what are all of the topics or questions which directly surround that, which, to be fair, are all likely to be elements of the different bits and pieces that you've highlighted on the page. So, writing content around, planning a marketing strategy, writing content around as we've already mentioned, Google My Business, around social media,
Yeah.
but from the context of adding it into a marketing strategy or a joined up marketing strategy. And then those pages that you write become trial pages where it makes sense to do so of this page, and they link. So you then link from this page to those other pages, and those other pages link back to this page and link to each other. So you're basically creating, in the center of it, you're creating, you know, a pillar piece of content, or the middle of the cluster, which is this, and then all of the content that around it, which I would class as either child content or supporting content, is basically then helping you become more of an authority on that topic.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I would then do, once you've written those pieces of content, is then you need to get external backlinks to those supporting pages, which in turn then link into the central page.
Yeah. So like my very bad diagram that I'm putting on
Like
the
your
screen.
very bad diagram, yes. But also your question was where to focus.
Yeah.
Well, I would do a little bit of keyword research to work out, once you've worked out all of the different things that are relevant that you're going to write about, then look at the competition, and I would write it based on your chances of ranking for it. So you know, it might be that how to set up a Google My Business profile is a piece of content that you should write, but that's a long-term plan to rank for that.
Yeah.
Whereas it might be, you know, how to set up, I don't know, something else, or how to, you know, write from a planning perspective. There might be a keyword you will find from research that actually you think, yeah, okay, that it's a lot easier to rank for that. So let's start with that, and then build your traffic thereafter. So yeah, my recommendation would be start with the easiest or the least difficult to rank content first to get traffic going, and then work out from there. And also remember that traffic going to your site and having a good experience is also going to, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once you start getting traffic coming to the site and having a good experience, Google will recognize that, and then therefore that's self-fulfilling to get you, you know, you end up with more traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I personally would approach it. I would plan out the entire cluster, work out the word count for all of the different articles, then look at the competitiveness of each of those articles, and I'd start with the least competitive and work my way up to the most competitive.
That definitely is our next task, or one of the next tasks, is that topic cluster, because that's something then, even if we can't accomplish them quickly, which isn't going to happen, we've got that plan that we can work on probably over the next 12 months.
Yeah, you should try and, I would aim to do as a minimum, if you're doing big pieces of content, try to do a minimum of 1 to 2 pieces a month. You know, ideally you want to be publishing fortnightly at a minimum if you're going to look to build this topic cluster.
Yeah.
But something we haven't spoke about for a while, which I think is also really important, and something that I did from a bit of prep for this call, was to look at the backlink profile of this page.
Right.
So from an on-page point of view, you have ticked, you know, most of the boxes for this particular page. I guess it's probably worth at this stage saying that, you know, SEO can often be looked at as a really complicated process. And what I would say is it is simple but not easy, is probably the best way to explain it. But there are 3 main buckets that I like to explain it in. So the first is your content. So you need good quality content, sufficient amounts of content to make you an authority in that topic. You know, there's no point in having one page on you know, how to set up Google Ads, for argument's sake, because there's going to be other pages, other sites, sorry, which are going to have hundreds of pages on the topic. So you need to make sure that you're an authority on that topic with good quality content. Once you've sorted the content side of things out, the sort of second bucket to look at is the technical side. You know, is your site easy to use? Does it load correctly? Is it fast? You know, does it technically function in a way that Google would give you a green tick in the box? Are Google's bots able to, you know, read the content and navigate around your site correctly, etc., etc.? And there is some overlap there with the on-page as well as the technical. You know, if you've got a real bad internal linking structure, then it's going to make it harder for the Google bot to go between page to page. You know, things like that. So there is some overlap. The third and sort of final one, and often I would say it's probably the most difficult one and most expensive to do, is the link building side of things. These days, it's very much quality over quantity. So, looking at this page, you don't have any really high quality, very relevant backlinks going to this page. If you're a client, I would be saying, look, this is somewhere that you need to put your attention. Maybe 5 or 6 links to this page that are relevant from high quality sites, much more powerful than your own site. It's like a citation or a vote of confidence.
Yeah.
And therefore it just validates that, yeah, okay, your content may be good and it may be diverse in terms of the use, the various different use of media you've got on there. So you've got your imagery, you've got video, you've got audio, you've got text. But the way I look at it is, if nobody else is pointing it out, nobody else is giving you a vote of confidence, nobody else is sending their traffic to your page as citing you as a source of good quality information, then what really does Google have to know whether or not that is, you are a decent source of information? The only anomaly for this is if you had a massive topic cluster. So, if you had hundreds of pages that were supporting this one page, and they're all very well internally linked, you may not need many links, depending on the niche. But you are also trying to rank an article in a very competitive niche.
Yeah,
so,
unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's not impossible, Ben.
No. And would you mind sharing, we were just talking briefly before, you had an idea of what it might cost to buy links. I think it's a good idea to share that, if you're willing to share what that might cost for those 5 links.
I mean, I would be, again, it depends on, a link can be anything from, say, around about £100 all the way up to, say, in some cases, it can be £2,500, £3,000, depending if you're paying for links. If you're paying for them. And although Google says you shouldn't be paying for links, I challenge anybody to tell me that there's it goes on all the time, basically. So in order to acquire the 5 links that I would say you would need for this page, probably somewhere between £1,000 and £1,500 is what I would budget for the 5 links. There are other ways you could do it, but again, I don't think you're quite there to use those strategies. Like, you could use a digital PR strategy, but I don't think your site has enough of a topic cluster. You're not covering the subject enough. You'd have to find something. I mean, one way you could, I'll eat my words a little bit. You could do a digital PR strategy, but you'd have to make it very localized.
Yes.
You would need to try and create a good news story, or of how you've helped a business set up there, or how you've helped maybe like somebody young, how you've helped them put together a marketing strategy, take that to local press then link to this particular page. That would be epic from a backlink point of view for you. Very hard to pull off, and ultimately I would recommend employing a proper digital PR firm to do that. But if you just want to start the process and just get those signals that are needed to that page, then going to a certain number of sites that are in the marketing niche and saying to them, look, I've got this page on writing or how to make a better business marketing strategy, can I please put a piece of content on your site? Invariably they'll say, yeah, but, and then the but will be, it costs this much.
Yeah.
Or it'll be, or what would be, I would suggest, and this is what I would be doing if I was in your shoes, is I'd be looking at doing something called a link insert. So I'd be looking for existing content on highly relevant sites that are in the marketing niche that are talking about a business marketing strategy, and I'll be asking them to add your link or add a link to your site in that existing piece of content. 2 reasons for that: cuts down on costs, because you haven't got to pay, if you're not doing it yourself, you haven't got to pay for the content creation side of it. And secondly, you're getting a link then from a page that is aged, and will have all links going to it itself. So generally, when you get to give you an understanding of the difference, if you get a link on a guest post, like a guest post, it's normally on a fresh page on a site, so you get the domain authority of the site, but you don't get much authority from a page perspective.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas if you do a link insert, also sometimes called as a niche edit, you can then get a link on a page which is, it might be 5 years old and it's got links going to it, but the content is evergreen, it's very relevant to your site. You know, again, I have successfully got links for free.
Right. You know what, I get asked all the time for that. You know, they say, hey, love this post where you're talking about X, Y, and Z. Do you think this article would go well on there?
And they're expecting you to say, yeah, sure, but it'll be X, and come back with a monetary amount of money. But yeah, so from my experience, I've been able to get links if it's something that is charitable, if it's something that is, you know, non-profit, let's say, quite easy to get links for free. As soon as you start getting into the realm of the commercial world, it never used to be this bad, but site owners have kind of cottoned on to the fact that lots of people used to do it for free, and now they're like, yes, we will, but it's X. And X will depend on the quality of the site. You know, I'll give you an example. Something like, there's a site called IB Times, International Business Times, ibtimes.co.uk, and I think when I last looked at it, it's about £3,000 to have an article with a link post on that.
Right.
But it gets ridiculous amounts of traffic. It's a very authoritative site. It's like a DR90.
Oh, that's high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's very authoritative, but it's a lot of money for one link.
Yeah.
When you think if you did a successful digital PR campaign, you could get several links of that kind of quality. So, but just to come full circle on what I'm saying, for what you're trying to do here, I would try and acquire between 3 and 5 high quality links, a mixture of guest posts and link inserts on sites that are more authoritative than yours, but also are bang on topic.
Yeah.
And then that will help. That will certainly help bring the page alive a bit more. You certainly should see an improvement in impressions, and number of keywords you rank for, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's one area that is one of the hardest. We can do everything we want to on this site, and we can do it very well. But if no one else is giving us a thumbs up, and to be fair, we've got lots of other links coming to our site, but it tends to be to the main homepage domain.
Yeah, which is normal. It's normal for most people to link to your homepage.
Yeah.
You know, that's absolutely normal, and that's exactly what Google would expect to see. But you need, and that's why it's hard. It's hard to get links to. It's very hard to get links to commercial pages. It's less hard to get them to blog posts, and it's very easy to get somebody to link to your homepage.
Yeah, well, we make websites, and so we control where they link. So just an idea though. So we were talking about making content for how to set up your Google profile. We've got an opportunity in what I do that we could possibly do guest posts for other businesses, like the growth hubs, for example.
Yeah.
They want content for their websites.
Mm-hmm.
We have an opportunity to write for their websites and get then a link back to content on our website. Would you say that it might be better that we write an article for them to go on their website that links back to, say, the marketing strategy page, than it would be to use that effort on our own site?
In terms of budget spend, or
well, effort, because it's free to get the article on their site. It's effort. It's like, if we're writing an article, we can place it on our site, or we could place it on their site and then reference it on our site.
I would say that if you're writing an article which is going to support this topic, you should put it on your own site. Okay. And then that should then internally link back to the kind of core main pillar page. People call them all different things. But what my thought process was that if you can write a piece of content for the Growth Hub and you can link from them to this page, then, and it's not going to cost you anything to do that, then that's a no-brainer. I would be jumping on that straight away. Right. So, but it's trying to focus directly on what do their audience want? Do they want 5 tips on how to do this? Do they want? Yeah, it has to be relevant. But you can always have a site. You know, if you're looking to get better at marketing, you know, you may want to consider reading this article. Or so we could almost marketing or So you could almost give them sort of the headlines on some marketing strategy, how to get started, and then say for the follow, you know, if you want to find out more, you've got to link through to this. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Also, the other thing to be conscious of is anchor text. I don't want to try and get too complicated, but obviously there's less value in a link that says this article than there is to a link that says how to get better at marketing. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it, but it's definitely a consideration. I suppose when I'm advising clients, a lot of the time I'll say, look, you can do the content side yourself, you can do this, that, and the other yourself. But when it comes to link building, I really would suggest that you get somebody who has experience involved doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I think this would be as well as, that we have opportunities to do that because people are always reaching out for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was just a case of, are we better spending it on the website or ours? But as you say, if it's supporting this page, we should do it. But I think what you're saying is that the external link building to places which you just can't reach, just to get good links, really powerful links into the right place. It's like a direct injection. Whereas other articles, you can't always control what they're going to link. You can put it in there, but whether they will link to those,
exactly. Yeah, and it's also it is a bit of a game of who you know.
Yeah.
You've heard of HubSpot.
Yes.
So I'm one of very few people that can get a link from HubSpot. If you've got deep enough pockets, just to give an example. So and obviously you can imagine the power and impact that sort of link has. So yeah, just be careful with link building. That's all. I know
it's not something that could, yeah, because I mean, I like with the other emails, I get lots of emails with huge lists of links that I can buy. I'm not interested. If I was going to buy links, it would be through you, Chris. We work with you on with other clients, and it has worked well. So I know it works. It's just a case about finding the right value and getting the right ones. And that is the importance, because it can be quite easy to get links. It's getting the right ones.
Yes, it is, and ultimately links are one of the things that I'd say if I've ever had to clear up a mess when I've taken on a new client, normally the mess has been caused by a little bit of knowledge on links, which is dangerous, and somebody's done, they might have tried to rank for blue widgets and they've done 100 backlinks to their page with all using the anchor text of blue widgets and wonder why it doesn't rank. So yeah, links is the one thing I think that you have to be careful that you don't screw up. Whereas content and tech and those other two buckets, largely you can do that yourself. Yes, you can probably, if you haven't got the time, or if you want to, get more bang for your buck, you can probably get a professional to do a better job. But, if you're on a budget, save your budget for things like digital PR and link building, and try and do the rest of it yourself if you can. Yeah,
absolutely. So there are a few other things just before we wrap up. We've talked about, let me go back to here. Was it here? This one. So we talked about the articles, we've gone through that. Keywords, we talked about this and how difficult it actually was to get a keyword for that page. So what we do is we'll actually get traffic to other pages that then link through to that. Because really, Google isn't necessarily going to recommend the Marketing Club page per se, but it will recommend an article of which people then will link through if they're interested, which is almost better in a way.
It's kind of like, you've got to look at it as commercial versus, the way you can look at it is to say the different types of content. So you have you have commercial investigation, which is somebody looking for something that they like insurance would often come under commercial investigation. You have informational content. It's much easier and much more likely that you can use informational content on your website or rank informational content on your website to bring traffic through to a commercial page than trying to bring traffic directly to a commercial page. It can be done, but it's just generally it's easier. And certainly for something like this, you want to really bring traffic to those informational pages. And if they don't sign up to the marketing club, one thing we haven't discussed is remarketing. I think we might have touched on it last time.
We did touch on it a little bit, yeah.
But using things like the Google ads remarketing and Facebook ads remarketing, Instagram, etc., so that people who have come to a piece of content which is an informational piece, you remarket them, but you remarket them and bring them back to the commercial piece. It's kind of like you wouldn't necessarily ask somebody to marry you on the first date, would you? So if they don't know your brand, they need to have more than one touch point to be able to want to buy from you, trust you. So the way
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
that is to basically remarket to those people who have been to informational content, send them back to commercial content to see if you can get them to buy, and maybe bring them back with a particular offer which is different to what is on the website. So it's a bit more of a, you know, I would call it a tripwire offer, you know, like a very low, easy, a very easy, make it very easy for them to say yes, like try our club for X time for X amount of money, but that is obviously much more discount, is at a discount to what's on your website, and see what happens, and see what, you know, if you do get any conversions or inquiries, and if you don't, then retarget them, try and bring them back to another piece of content. So the other thing I was going to say, sorry, whilst it's on my mind from a retargeting point of view, is your articles that you've written. The other thing that I would add into the page would be an encouragement as a call to action, as an alternate call to action, would be to sign up to some sort of email newsletter, because I get emails from you, and it's less of an ask to get somebody to sign up to a newsletter than it is to get them to sign up and pay for your marketing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But once you've got them on your newsletter list, you can then funnel them over time and build that relationship with them into your marketing club if that's something that would be useful to them. So that's the other thing I think I would add as a further upgrade to this page is to have some form of call to action. Maybe that's the very first one above planning. Is in a call to action which says join our newsletter, and maybe that's something that gives them very quickly a reason to join, you know, in terms of if you want more information like this, or like what you're reading, read more on our newsletter. You know, it's very low barrier to entry. It's very easy for them to say, yeah, actually it's only my email address, yeah, do that, no problem. But then you've got them in that loop, and ideally try and segment it as well, so you know that if somebody signs up from this page, you segment them so you know they've signed up from this page, and then you can market to them accordingly.
You know what they're interested in. We have actually been looking at that. I can't remember if it was after your call or further down the line, and we have created, or Claire's put together, the key actions from this particular page that someone could sign up to get over, I think it was a sequence of 3 emails, that they can sign up to that. So that's an instant win. They get that. So if they like this, rather than reading it now, we can send them the most salient actions. Really and good. then they're signed up to the newsletter off the back of that. So they get those first, and then they get the newsletter.
Also, how much is the marketing club? Can't remember how much it is.
£25 ex VAT a month. Right.
So if you said that for somebody to try it out and see if they like,
try it for free for 30 days.
Oh, is it free for 30 days?
It's free for 30 days. You know what? You did mention the tripwire before. It's actually hard to do the tripwire using the system we've got.
Yeah,
but it adds other problems.
I wouldn't, if it were me, in my opinion, I wouldn't give it away for free. Because often people do not see value in something that is free. I would certainly A/B test it. So I would try and test it that you offer it for £1 for the first month, and then you know, thereafter, if they want to carry on, then it's the normal amount. But I think the very act of somebody having to physically pay for something, even though it's even £1, it's more of a commitment, and also it gives more of a, to me, it's more like, well, there's some value there. They're not giving it away for free. Not saying it's not valuable, but I'm just from a psychology point of view. I would try that. Try doing. It'd be difficult to do to your existing client base or existing newsletters to people because you've offered it to them for free. But if you set up a separate segment and you start getting new signups to newsletters, I would try it as a £1 for the first month. See what happens. I mean, I've tried it on another project, a SaaS project I'm working on, a piece of online software, and they had free sign up, and they changed to, there was a change to $1 rather than free, $1, and then it went up to $7 after a month, and the conversions were well, they improved basically.
Yeah, there's a technical reason why I can't do it so easily, but I'm good at overcoming those. So
Yeah.
that's why we didn't implement it, because it can be done, but there's a problem with it for some reason. So
But
I will
even if
come
you
back to
had
that.
even if you had to do it manually in the short term to prove whether it worked or not, to then, if it did work, then put the technical fix in place.
Absolutely, it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to come around to something. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, sorry about interrupting.
No, that's okay. It's not a problem. So we've talked about PR links, incredibly important.
Yeah, I mean, from a PR point of view, you know, I would wholeheartedly recommend Mel Jones from Encore PR in Cheltenham.
I think that's what this is here. Yeah.
She is epic. She's very, very good at what she does. So yeah, from a more traditional PR point of view, that's who I would recommend.
I would also put my hand up for Heidi. She came on our club. I've worked with her for many years, but she's based in Herefordshire. She's got more of a bent on the tourism leisure side of things, but you know, she can cover other areas.
Yeah,
I think she works with Mel. I think they actually work together.
She does. They do work together. That's correct. Yeah. And other than that, from a pure digital PR point of view, it's something that we've started doing. So
you have, yeah.
So you know, if somebody wanted some help with that, then we could certainly help them with it. Yeah, it's a hard slog, but it's worth it for the results that you get in terms of the links. But yeah, PR is, it's definitely becoming more important in SEO.
Yeah, I think it's more. It's this real life activities and recommendation and trust. It's not just someone has contrived a link on a web page. Correct. These are things usually with PR. I mean, there's a lot of PR that does get through, which is, you know, you can tell has been written by the company.
Client PR, that's cool.
Yeah, but it still has to have some value to it. So there has to be written in a certain way. So it's a bit more gated in a way. So it can be harder, and unless you've got the contacts, which is what it often comes down to.
That's what it comes down to, yeah.
Let's just to wrap up. What other things do we have in here? Some of the areas we looked at. So
the survey, Ben, did you do anything around that?
We did. Look, you can see it at the top here. So we're calling it a marketing support pack.
Right.
I haven't really been pushing it heavily, but we have had one person go through it who's they're actually appearing on our sort of website review next session, I believe that is Claire. And so they've gone through this process because I asked them to do that to register to go on our show. And they actually found it quite useful. So let's run it through quickly now. I think it needs more visuals. It needs to be more interesting. So I appreciate that. But this was done before we went away, and we had a big task list from you, Chris. So I think we've done pretty well. So first of all, well, let me run through it and then we'll come to the comments. So do you have a clear understanding of the customer's needs? No, I don't. Do you happy with engagement get from social media? Maybe yes, I am. No, I'm not on page 1. We definitely need to improve that. You happy with number of sales and leads? No. And then you've got a free form field, so you can type anything in there you like. And then how many people work at the company? This we've put in as a filter. It's a gate. So some things will show or won't show depending on what they answer here. I'm not going to say what they are. Let's just put this one. And so now, once you've done that, it gives you some ideas based on what you've selected. It comes up with some things. So generally speaking, we're going to recommend the marketing strategy, join club, free website audit if they've got problems with their website, or a deeper study. That's where you come in. So this free website audit is where they come on our show, and we basically go through a few ideas.
Okay.
This one is where you get involved, Chris, and we have that bigger study, that bigger audit, which is, you know, definitely worthwhile. And so they can tick what they like there, tick whether they want a free call, and other information, then fill this out. So basically, this is where I funnel people to from workshops when I meet people. If they want help, this is a good place to go to start, and it kind of funnels things down. And they get this free information here without having to fill anything out. And if they do fill this out, I get all of the survey information that they filled out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're up to. I appreciate it does need more visual interest.
I was just going to say, with the questions, it might be worth doing some real snippet videos, like yourself doing literally explaining.
Great idea. Yeah.
just explaining the question or giving them some examples?
I think it would look more
answer the question?
interesting. Yeah, so if we go back to the previous one, that's what they're met with when they click on it. I mean, it's a bit
Yeah.
dull and boring. And like, oh,
So-
do I have time to fill that out now? Whereas if you've got me going, hello, right,
they
we're going to
know-
go through this.
Do they know what a customer avatar persona is?
Well, that's
Won't
why I've
know
put
what
that.
is.
That's why I've put that in there, because if they know what it is, then they can tick yes. If they
But it'd
don't,
be-
then they should put no.
But it'd be good if you could have a little video, because they might know what it is, but not know what it is from your
Yeah.
description.
Quite right. Yeah, and it would be nice to see a face. You know, I'm what they get.
Yeah.
What they pay
Yeah.
for. So you know, we may as well have me on there,
Sure.
going through it. Yeah, that would be a quickest, easiest way to do that. And then even
Other than
actually
that-
on if we answer all the questions and get back through, I'm just going to put no to every single one of them. So that should actually trigger everything. Then we can actually have a video on here saying thanks very much. Here we've got the resources below, but if you need anything else, get in touch with us.
The other thing I would say is it's the form to fill in, the form at the bottom is quite hidden. Like you've got to scroll to see that. I wondered
Yeah.
whether it'd be worth having the first two, wonder whether putting the form, moving the form up the page, then is what I was thinking, whether there's a better place to put the form.
Or keeping the form in the same place and having a button, a call to action here that jumps
Yeah.
them down to it, saying, yeah, I want more help.
Because they might not necessarily scroll all the way to
No,
the
you're
bottom of the
you're
page.
quite right. Yeah, because it is long. Once if they've selected no to everything, they get all the resources on here.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot to go through. And they could miss it. I think a video at the top would help as well.
You could explain
play.
you could say in the video as well that at the bottom of the page there is the form. That would be
Yeah.
a way to get around it as well.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I want to build this. This is going to become the main funnel for a lot of things. Once people are interested, obviously it doesn't impact on the SEO. It's just a way of,
Yeah.
you were talking about getting people on a newsletter. Actually, in some ways, I want people with a bit of a purpose in some ways. So this is when people have a need, but they're not exactly sure what they need. This is what I want them to go through.
Yeah, makes sense.
And was there anything else? The only other thing to mention is that we actually did some user testing on the site through usertesting.com. So we paid to have some people to run through the website. And what I wanted to do is get feedback on whether they would sign up. And then I gave them a free code to sign up so they could see what it was like and then give feedback on how it works. I'm not going to go through all of that now, but it's a very interesting process to go through. And I certainly recommend it if we are building websites for people that they go through user testing. It's going to cost about £200 to do it. It's not very expensive. And you get a lot of feedback from real people. And you give them a task to do, like, I want you to sign up. They have to find out how to do it.
Right.
And so you get to see people who don't care about your product or service going through that process. Generally speaking, some good feedback on the content there. But many of the things, and I think you may have highlighted it before, many of the things which we've now changed on the actual pages, like the marketing club pages, is we need to be more benefit driven. So that's what we've focused on here. We've got a bit more work to do further down the page. And also once they do sign up, we've got more information on what problem have you got. Here are the videos that can solve it. You click on it and you're going to get a video that's going to help you. And they're based on these ones here.
Yeah.
Because people found, well, okay, it looks really good, but what problems are you solving? You're talking about marketing and help with marketing, but what problems are you solving? So we're trying to go more problem orientated, or what benefit is bringing to the customer. So that's something else we did, which was kind of tangentially relevant to what we were talking about. I think that's it, isn't it? I think we've covered everything.
I think so, yeah. I mean, like I said, from my perspective, as a summary, I would say you need more supporting content around that page. You need to improve internal linking. And sorry, I have missed something. Title tag.
Title tag, yes, you mentioned that before. So
the actual title tag of the page, I would improve that. Get
better at marketing, foundation strategy. You know what? I think we mentioned this before, foundation strategy. Why have we got that in? That's something we had, and I'm sure we were going to change that before.
I would literally, I'll be tempted to just have the title tag as how to get better at marketing, then you know, whatever you want to use, a dash or a pipe, and then rather inventive, because how to get better at marketing is one of the key phrases that, or, I mean, I use a tool which allows you to check length for title tags, but
yeah, that's Moz, isn't it? Moz.
Yeah, so how to get better at marketing, or do something which is that encompasses getting better at marketing and the, you know, the word strategy.
Yeah.
I would capitalize it all as well.
Yeah, I know. I do tend to capitalize some bits. I don't like, there is a certain method, isn't it, that you don't can capitalize that, or I actually just prefer to capitalize everything if I'm going to capitalize.
I would just capitalize it all. How to get better at marketing. You've got space there, so
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
You know, maybe you could put how to get better at marketing, and then like separate it with the business strategy, and then rather.
I think that will be it, won't it? Yeah.
It's
Oh,
too
look.
long.
But I mean, I know that's an issue, but that we've got the most important bits in there, haven't we? From
yeah, but you could change. You could go how to get better at marketing : without a spec, and that would yeah. I put how to get better at marketing. Take that, put a colon there. Take the dash out. Then put business strategy, and then put the dash. You might just have enough room.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh no.
No.
Oh,
I mean, there would be a way. There would be a way of working it out, but
yeah, we'll get there.
I don't know if you if you ever use just like RA as a brand, a shortened version of your brand.
No. No.
Could you get rid of the how to and have it as get better at marketing?
No, because how to is what people would type in.
Ah.
I would leave it as how to, because that's what people generally ask in that question.
I mean, RA would be, you know, oh, sorry, not RA, RI would be what
that's
they
what
would
I meant,
see.
sorry.
Yeah, that's what they see, you know, like that. We could use that as a shortened version of it.
Or you could, you could try how to get better at business. I'm trying to work out a way you could do it with less characters. I mean, this is something that I would spend ages on trying to work it out, but
I know it's hard.
It's important. It's, you know, it's a decent placement on page from a signal perspective for Google, and also you want to get that click. So yeah, I would how to get better at business marketing strategies, and then see if that worked.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, how important is it to have our brand on the end of that?
Not the end. It's not the end of the world, but I would say I would prefer it to be on there if I was. I would recommend it to a client. Put it that way. It's not the end of the world.
No, I would love it on there, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
something
how to
for
get
us
better
to
business marketing strategies. Rather, yeah. See that's fine. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely fine, Ben. That's much better than what you have right now.
Great. Okay, let's do it. There was getting something else I was going to look at, I think that was it. Oh yeah, one final thing. Another recommendation of yours. Very good idea. I don't know if we haven't thought of it or it's just technically difficult. But one of your ideas was to have a preview, like a 5-minute preview, because at the moment we've got this. So on all the previous ones, we actually since your call, we implemented people to see all of the club content, the text format, and then the video is actually got a, you know, it's restricted.
Okay.
Because the whole thing was restricted before. What Claire's now done is for newer articles, so newer club members, like that's free access anyway, that's free access for that. So for this one, benefits of WooCommerce, you actually get a preview. So Claire's created a 5-minute dedicated YouTube preview, which is available for free on YouTube and here, so people can click on that. And it's not, I don't want to hear my voice over the top of that, but we can hear me talking to Ronald about the benefits of WooCommerce. So that's great. And then we come to the end of it and we get a nice little call to action at the end. So if they're a club member, that will flip in with the correct video. So that's something which we only put live, what was it, just before the holidays, mid-August. So we'll see if that improves things. Now we're going to have so many more videos available online, like a mini podcast really.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
I know you probably feel like you're saying the same thing over and over and saying, like, Ben, I've told you this before, but it's, and I know we do this with clients a lot, but there's so many ideas, so many things that need to be done, and it does just take time, especially to do it
Prioritizing them
properly.
as well. I mean, if you can do them in some form of logical order, ideally, if you can get your content and your, go content first, then tech, then links.
Yeah, you know me, I'm all about the tech first, because that's the easiest bit for me.
Yeah. But it doesn't work in the competitive niches. It doesn't work if you don't do all three facets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you very much. We will definitely look to implement those, and I think the links as well, combination of some form of paid link and some outreach, definitely for the PR, which is one area we've started. We've been speaking to Heidi about it, but we haven't been able to move forward. Just busy, sadly. But thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Good to have that clarification as well as the 3 buckets of SEO. So that's going to be content, technical, and inbound linking.
Makes it easier for you to explain to people as well. Like
it does, yeah, because it can be very confusing, and it does get quite technical and quite tricky for some people. But it doesn't start off like that. There's no need for it to start like that and be a black art, which a lot of people think it is.
It very much depends on the competitive nature or how competitive the niche you're in is. The less competitive it is, the more you can get away with. I've got a site which is made up of about 12 pages with very few links that generates inquiries in a certain very niche area in Scotland, generates inquiries every day, and I've not touched it for ages. But then similarly, or conversely, you could look at like Utility Saving Expert and say that's the complete other end of the scale. So yeah, and there's going to be customers and companies in between. So it's been out making them aware of that, especially if it's like a new project as well. If somebody's a plumber in Bristol and they want to rank for plumbing in Bristol, they need to understand that that's going to be a lot harder than ranking for plumbing in Cirencester, for argument's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Just understanding the how much. So I guess what I'm saying is you need to have all 3 buckets, but it depends on how full your buckets need to be, depending on how competitive the niche is.
Thanks very much, Chris. Really appreciate your time. We'll let you know in due course how this all goes. For everyone else, we're here every Friday at 10 a.m. We cover everything in marketing, strategy, social, definitely SEO. In fact, it's a bit of an SEO month, I think you said, Claire. Video and so much more. If you've got something exciting to share, if you've got a great story or you've had something that's really improved your life in marketing and business, let us know. We want you to come on and talk about it. Claire, what is coming up next week?
So next week, we're joined by Abby Unwin, who's going to share her journey into SEO from how she embarked on your introductory SEO workshop and how that's improved her website ranking from page 15 to page 1 in under a month. So she's going to sort of share that journey and her goals and how that happened.
So that's something exciting to share, and I'm sure many of the tips will come from you, Chris, that I'm resharing. You are our guru.
Happy to help.
If you want to invite a colleague, feel free to just invite them along, share the Zoom link. And you know what, if you've got club membership, I'm more than happy for you to loan that out to other people. The more people that gain access to this, the better. Obviously, if they love it, get them to come and buy a club membership. Don't forget, you can catch up on all our previous webinars on the website now, and if you have been shared this, you're not a member already, you can get a 5-minute preview from now on. I don't know if we're going to go back and do them all, but we'll definitely do 5-minute previews from now on. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.